we're just going to paint a happy little tree right over here. Happy little tree. And then I just want you to keep in mind that in art, we don't make mistakes, that there's only happy little accidents. Just happy little accidents. Just happy little accidents. Just happy little accidents. She ain't got no paint. She ain't got no paint. After a video like that, you may think that I am actually insane, but I am not. I just like to have a little fun every once in a while. And the point is, what if you don't have paint at home? So if you don't have paint, that's not something to worry about. There are things around your house that you could use instead of paint. Now, I did a couple experiments, and I want to tell you about those and tell you what I think you could realistically use as paint and what you might not want to use. So, watch today's video if you are stuck at home and you don't have any paint. Well, I recently heard that you can make paint out of spices. So I thought, hey, let's give it a try and see. So I did give it a try. I mixed up everything according to directions I found on the internet using various spices in my kitchen. It took a little bit. I tried it and it was a big mistake. Do not do it. Don't use your spices. Or your mom's spices or your grandma's spices. Just don't. So let me tell you what did work. The first thing was gel food coloring. And it worked really well. I went to my kitchen cabinet and got out my food coloring and put a little bit in the bottom of a bowl and about 2 tablespoons of water, and it painted just like watercolor paint. Now, if it gets on your skin or anywhere besides the paper, it does have more of a staining property than what regular watercolor paint would. So just beware of that, but it does paint really well. The next thing that worked really well was a washable marker in water. So for this, you will have to take the end off a washable marker. That is a little difficult. Take out the tube containing the pigment and cut off the nib or the end of the marker and put about 1/4 cup of boiling water in and then let it sit for an hour, and then you just stir it and you have watercolor paint. Now, it's about as washable as the food coloring. The interesting thing is I looked up what is made inside of a water or a washable marker, and it is food coloring, and then they put some other stuff in it. So just beware that if you touch the nib while you're trying to get it off, or you touch that tube that comes outside of the marker, when it gets on your hands, it will be very messy and it will stay for about 3 washings. The next thing I pulled out of my pantry is some KoolAid. Now, I don't know if everyone keeps KoolAid in their pantries these days, but I had several packs, so I just tried the fruit punch color because I knew it would be red, and we had that or pink colors available, so I figured I might be able to lighten the red with more water. So I'm trying it there on a piece of paper. It works really well. It, again, also is not as washable as watercolor paint, and once it dries on the surface of the paper, there's no moving it. But it does water down very well and works very much like watercolor paint while it is wet on the surface of the paper. Like I said, if you paint somewhere and you intend to lighten it with watercolor paint, you can do that a little bit, but if you're painting with KoolAid, it does not lighten. Once it's on there, it kind of has stained the paper in a way. So it worked rather well though. The last thing I tried was coffee. Now, it broke my heart to brew a cup of coffee that I wasn't going to drink because I love my coffee, but I did it anyways. And then after I brewed the cup of coffee, it was only a 4-ounce cup of coffee. I also tried the instant kind of coffee by boiling water and pouring in a very small amount of water. So that way I had one that would be darker and one that is lighter. But I can say that the lighter one, I did not actually end up using a whole lot. I used the darker one. It wasn't dark enough, and you could layer the coffee, but it takes a while to layer it up. So what I ended up doing was I went up and I boiled the coffee down and had a very dark one, a medium one, and then a lighter one to work with. And I used that very dark one a lot and layered it a lot, and it worked super well. Your room will kind of smell like burnt coffee if you do this, and the coffee boils down really fast, but it works super well. And then I did have some like paint markers there, so I added some white to my painting with the paint markers. But other than that, it was just coffee that created this, with a little bit of white added in with paint markers. Now, if you don't have paint markers and you want to add white before you start painting to the areas that you know you want white, if you have a white crayon, you can put that in. And it actually looks really cool, like a sepia tone, antique type of painting in the end. So I liked painting with the coffee. So in the end, you might be able to find a lot of things in your kitchen that you could use to paint with. Spices would not be one of them, but food color, whether it be the gel food color or the little drop food color, I've used both before, or your coffee, or your Kool-Aid, or you could even try maybe using like a juice that has some kind of food coloring in it. I did not try any juice, but all of them created beautiful artwork in the end, just like a watercolor painting would, and it was great to be able to paint. So thanks for sticking around to explore these alternative methods of painting, and I hope you have fun creating your own masterpieces. One last note, the paint recipes are in the description below if you need any of those.